All right, so I know my wife is going to absolutely kill me for saying this, but The Simpsons has not been good in a very, very, very long time. And I'm not saying that it's a bad show. It's not a bad show. It's still watchable, but it's definitely not as good as what it was back in the day. And I can prove that to you by the simple marathons that they was running on, what was it, FX? When you got to see the older episodes and you get to see the episodes now. I would say this show has got really political over the years, which again you can argue that it's always kind of been that way. You know, I can think back to the very first time that I really saw a political figure, and it was the George Bush Homer fight back in the day. There was that, but I mean, it seems like it's taken on kind of really, I don't like saying the word, but kind of woke trends to a certain extent. I don't like the progression of Homer Simpson. I kind of feel like Homer went from this lovable idiot to this basically this really apathetic person who doesn't care about his family. And only after all these different trials does he have to be reminded of it. If you look back on the older episodes, that was the furthest thing from the case. He might have done dumb things, but he always did it with the intention of maybe trying to live up to something for his family. I also don't really like the way Marge just turned out. Yes, Marge, you could always say was a nag to a certain extent, but I never really liked the way in the last couple of years that especially in the future episodes that they do, it's always the relationship between her and Homer always hits this breaking point and she leaves Homer in the future episodes. And I always thought that's a little bit crazy because in those episodes she has to like dig deep, deep, deep down to find, I don't know, some resemblance of love where she has to overlook every one of his faults for it. And I just kind of feel like that's kind of a, I won't say misogynist, but it's a really kind of sexist view that kind of has been going around in Hollywood, especially in these animated series. You see it in Family Guy, you see it in American Dad, you see it in the Cleveland Show. The guy's always the butt of the joke. The woman's the one that's the voice of reason. Maybe that's just me, but that's just kind of how I look at it. I also don't really like the way in the last couple of years the children react to Homer. They're incredibly ashamed by him. He's not just this funny idiot. He's somebody that, to a certain extent, Lisa is really hateful to, and really resents. You know, the him just being alive. Um, and I kind of feel like that's kind of agged on by Marge to a certain extent. Now, those are just basic complaints. I also think this show is just not as funny as what it used to be. It used to have some really good standalone moments. It used to have really memorable, even sad moments on this show that really made you think or wonder or care. I can't think of the last time in the last 5 to 7 years that I've really felt that way with this show. It just feels like a milder version of Family Guy, and that's just the truth, the way I look at it. But let's get to this. It says the Simpsons star has a response to complaints about the show's quality. She says, "F you." That's a great rebuttal, isn't it? It's telling you exactly, uh, uh, you know, a good argument of why it's good. Yeah, great. The team behind The Simpsons rejects the notion that the long running comedy is past its prime. In an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, Yardley Smith, who voices Lisa Simpson, opened up about the remarks that rub her the wrong way. My feeling today is most people say the show hasn't been good since season 10. Eh, and it's like F you. The piece that goes along with the comment, like that is, I can't believe they don't try anymore. I kind of feel that way too. That is so offensive to me. You'll never meet more hardworking writers, animators, and actors than at The Simpsons, but that doesn't mean they're good at their job. They can be hardworking, but that don't mean they're good at their job. Like, that's what comedy is about. Like, if it was all just about hard work and no comedy, like if you're just not a funny person, you're not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. Nancy Cartwright, who voices Bart Simpson, agreed with her co star, saying, "It all bothers me. That is just a critical person." My response is, "What are you doing? Everyone is just trying to get by, especially with the pandemic." Oh my goodness, what does the freaking pandemic have to do with the last 20 years of The Simpsons? Last I checked, that started in 2020. People have been complaining about The Simpsons long before 2020. I'm sorry. Pandemic has nothing to do with this. Uh, so to have a show that still brings lightness and thought-provoking storylines after 33 years, we're still culturally relevant, barely. That is mind-boggling. And look, give it all the credit in the world. Not very many, hardly any shows have lasted as long as The Simpsons has. And to be fair, its decline, to me at least, is not as bad as, let's say, a Family Guy. The Family Guy, its decline started a couple years back, and it didn't even make it to the 20th season before it started having a serious decline. So give The Simpsons credit in that. I'm not saying it's a bad show. It's a very entertaining show. I'm just saying, if you go back and you watch the older episodes, you will see what I'm talking about. And my rebuttal to that, I feel like, was a lot more responsive of the reasons why than just saying F you to anybody who disagrees with me. At least I gave a response of the reasons why I thought this show was not as good as what it used to be. There is little question that The Simpsons owes its longevity to its dedicated fans. However, the intensity of a fandom can be a double edged sword. Smith acknowledged that it's sometimes a fine line to walk. You have to coexist with the fans because without an audience, there is no show, Smith said. Nevertheless, she was adamant that the relationship can quickly turn unhealthy. The amount of armchair quarterbacking on the internet, where it is so easy to fire off something really horrible, that toxic fandom has become its own animal. So now Simpsons fans are getting that say, hey, it's not as funny as it used to be, are now getting the Star Wars fan treatment where we're just toxic fandoms. I mean, come on. That stuff. That is so the rise of Skywalker and really hasn't worked ever since then. It didn't really work back then. But I'm just saying, that's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. The voice actors say there are entire Reddit threads to how shitty The Simpsons is now, and it's like you're really going to spend all this time or something you don't even enjoy. You all need to get a hobby. You know what my response is to that? Um, I bet he or she finds time for the shows that they care about drastically. I bet they obsess over things, and just like what Simpsons fans do, fans complain and still watch because they still have hope. Kind of like I am with Star Wars. I still have hope that things will turn around. I have that hope. I continue to watch. I continually feel abused by this show simply because they go and they run any bad comment down with, oh, well, it's toxic masculinity, toxic fandom. It's just you don't like it because there's a female in there, some garbage nonsense. But when people like Gina Carano, they were like, well, you know, let's forget about that part that you liked her. You didn't like Ray, so, you're still a sexist or something like that. Like, that's most BS argument I ever heard in my life. I can't even read anymore. I'm getting sick and tired of the excuses. The idea that a person cannot complain about something without being attacked by it is ridiculous. And I totally get it. The voice actors, they're they're in the shoes of this show. This has been their life for many years. So maybe I guess it's almost like an artist. When somebody tells them that their music sucks or something along those lines. Maybe I could, especially if it's a song you've wrote. Maybe I could say, okay, well, I understand why you're kind of pissed about this, but at the same time, excuses. Well, they're hardworking, but don't mean they're funny. It's the pandemic. Well, people have been complaining about The Simpsons long before 2020. And then this whole toxic fan base because there's whole Reddit feeds going out talking about how bad The Simpsons is now, and they're pissed off at that. They should be really grateful that fans are still watching after 33 years, even if it isn't as good as what it used to be. That's not toxic fan base. That's a loyal fan base. Understand the difference. Understand the difference, Hollywood. That's your problem. You're thinking that if you're misreading toxic fan base by loyal fan bases. Drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. Hollywood is weird. Hollywood is crazy. It's kind of stuff that makes you just not even want to watch something. But anyways, guys, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Do you think that The Simpsons has maybe hit its peak and is now on the decline? Do you feel like a toxic fan for saying that? Do you still love The Simpsons? Or am I just completely off and everything I've said bad about The Simpsons is it wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. I love to just hear from other fans. And you're not toxic if you disagree with me. So you're not going to get that treatment from me. I'm a fan who loves talking to other fans, doesn't matter the subject. I'm always respectful in that way. I mean, because as a fan, I understand when that's your show, you're very, possessive of it. That's your show. You don't want nobody talking bad about it. Totally get it. My wife's that way with The Simpsons. So, I mean, I live within my own home. But, anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching. Y'all take care.